There's a stigma that people with autism don't have empathy, which is, from my experience of now befriending many people on the autism spectrum, is so far from the truth.
Oh.
However, the ability to empathize is only as strong as your ability to see the thing you empathize with.
Mm.
And like,
You have to recognize someone's pain or
Yeah.
someone else's struggle or where they're meeting up with an obstacle in order to be able to have compassion for them. So it's a
And
that
then you're-
recognition piece.
and I find that a lot of these friends that I have made are extra sensitive to it. But someone might need to say, hey, I'm really hurting right now. They might not recognize a wince on the face or a lot of posture changes. So,
Yeah.
so while you're going like this a whole bunch, I'm just talking to you about how great my fucking coffee is. And you're like, this guy doesn't care about how I feel. This guy doesn't know how you feel. And he would be interested if you expressed it to him.
Yeah. Well, I want to say that there's a parallel here with my experience. It's very different, but there is a certain parallel, which was when I really got into therapy and when I really got into recovery, and realizing kind of a lot of the trauma I went through as a kid. And my mom took off when I was 1.5 years, and I was in a really dysfunctional family, and there was just a lot of shit. When I started unpeeling that onion, I felt such a relief. Like, oh, that's why I'm an addict. That's
On the onion of trauma?
of the onion of trauma and family history and family dysfunction.
Oh, seeing how it played a
explains
role in
so
your-
much about how I was the way that I was, even just describing how I was in the lunchroom with the pat on the back. Like, of course I was, because I didn't have parents that taught me some really basic things.
Also, there are some things that maybe other people were able to figure out on their own that you didn't.
Yeah. So I definitely went through some times of great depression and remorse and almost grieving for that lost child. But I felt such a relief to know, like, oh, I'm screwed up in this way. And there's a very good reason why I'm screwed up in this way. Now, that doesn't mean, and it's like you say, that doesn't mean that my work then is done and I can just act however the fuck I want to act. It's like, okay, so how do I better myself? How do I improve those blind spots?
Right.
How do I function better with greater compassion and sensitivity in my marriage, in my life, in my friendships, in my work environments? That is on me, because I think some people have the diagnosis of some kind of mental health issue and they look at family trauma and dysfunction and then they're like, that's it. And they're just going to just stay the same.
Yeah. That's, you have the why, and then what do you do with it? You have the why and like, okay, that is what it is, or do you do something with it?
Mm-hmm.
And that, what you're saying about, oh, I had this trauma, that's what I was, to not use it as an excuse, but to use it as a learning tool to understand.
Yeah.
And that was where the hesitancy of the autism is, and where I sometimes feel okay talking about it, which is, this isn't an excuse, this isn't an identity, this is just a category that is still quite broad, but to better understand, like, oh, if I had an alcoholic parent or a single parent household, and or an issue with a sibling that, a half brother, a deceased, or they were the what's the term? Like the prodigal child.
Gobsmacked.
Like, these are all, don't define who you are, and doesn't mean that you're the same as the next person that experiences,
Yeah.
but it does lead you down a path of better understanding of, like, oh, here are some patterns of behavior. So with any type of diagnosis, whether it's autism or depression or OCD or, child of an alcoholic or whatever the thing might be, it's just helps you better understand your own triggers. But the depression that I felt came to less about what it is that is the path of understanding, and more so, I didn't feel stupid, but I felt like I felt helpless. I felt so unable.
Mm.
I'm a 30-something-year-old guy who now I wouldn't go on dates. I wouldn't believe my friendships that I've since developed as an adult. Like, is everybody lying to me?
Mm.
Is everybody, what you went, I remember I was dating a girl who was telling me a story and I was listening. And she said, "You're not listening to me." And then I said, "I am listening to you." And then I don't know if it was passive aggressive or not. I don't remember.
You repeated back.
My intention was proving, yes.
Yeah.
Word for word. And she goes, "Okay, well, I don't like that you're doing that." No problem with her. She felt her feelings. But I said, what could I do? And she goes, "Well, people, there's a call and response where people want you to go, or say like, right." So then I jokingly, but like as she was talking, I'd be like, right, yes. Mm-hmm. To this day, when somebody does that, I don't think that they're putting it on. I also don't know that they're not. Are you listening to me or are you wanting me to feel listened to? And I have no idea. And that's one of those calculations that I say keeps me from being present. What I've learned.
I haven't been listening this entire time.
And if that bothers me, okay, if that bothers me and I feel like something I could control, I'm now going to be trying to fix that.
Yeah.
The depression came from that. The depression was, "Oh, are you interested? Am I talking? Do you not, should I, I'm sorry, do you want it?" And it was just like, I was so sad. So when people were even nice to me, I'm like, people were always, I wasn't bullied as a kid. People were always nice to me. Nobody liked me. That's not true. It's a little hyperbolic, but I wasn't included. And I don't say this as a victim. I say this as a person who was annoying. And when I had friends, I would ask to wrestle them and box them and touch them and be annoying. And it's like, but now what do? I felt like I'm a 30-year-old baby. I had to practice. One of the things that I was told to practice when people say, "How you doing?" I say, "Good, thanks. How are you?"
Hey, did you like that video? Why don't you click on this one? Or maybe watch this one? Or click over here.